Hello everyone! One of the items that got really popular here in the channel is the Nyxi Joy-Cons. In fact, it's the item that sold the most of all of my reviews. And even with its flaws, the Nyxi Joy-Cons have proven to be a solid option to the original Joy-Cons, with a cheaper price tag and extra functionalities allied with a better analog stick that is less prone to drifting. It's easy to see how it got so popular. So today I'm taking a look at another Nyxi product, their Ice Cracking Pro Controller, which promises to be a great cheaper alternative to the original Pro Controller. The box art is super simple, but let's not judge this book by its cover. In the box you get the controller together with the manual and a USB Type-C cable. You can pause the video and check the manual if you want to. And here's the Ice Cracking Pro Controller. I can already see that it feels just like a Pro Controller. And the Dpad won't fall in the middle. In the back you have a plain plastic with no texture. And the sticker here says that the battery is a 600 mAh battery. The triggers in this controller have a much better ergonomic feeling, and that's because they are curved outwards. Comparing side by side with a Pro Controller, you can see that this controller is very similar and yet has subtle differences, with the triggers being the most notable one. But it's hard to see here, but the grips are a little bit thinner than the original Pro Controller. And this, in my case, made the hand wrap around the controller a little bit better. Take a look here at this picture and you can see the difference. Another difference is that the buttons are a little bit smaller and the button layout is a little bit more square. And the plus, minus, home and capture buttons are in the correct positions. Some third-party controllers have this position swapped. When turned on, the LEDs will shine through the cracks. And a fun fact is that the patterns of these cracks are unique to each controller. They are made through a special paint, and when drying out, each controller will crack differently. Here's a comparison on the top part. And that's all. I really like the ergonomy of this controller, and I feel that it's much more comfortable than the original. And the triggers is my favorite part. The curves made all of the difference here, and it feels really nice to press them. By pressing this button, you can change through the colors. And with a double tap you can turn it off. And by combining it with the face buttons you can get different results. This mode binds the lights to the gyro, so whenever you move the controller, the lights will react differently. This mode binds the lights to the analog stick. And this other one is a breathing mode. This one will light up whenever the controller rumbles. This Pro controller can wake up your Switch, and it also has motion controls. You can adjust the rumble intensity too. And set a turbo function for any button you want. And by pressing this combination, you can speed up the turbo. You can decrease the speed using the minus button. This controller is compatible with PC through the cable, and the button layout here is swapped from the original Xbox layout. On the Dpad test, you can't trigger the diagonals by holding only on one direction. However, I also noticed that the diagonals here are a little bit better than the ones on the Nyxi Joy-Cons. The analog sticks are the same as the Nyxi Joy-Cons. They will snap to the X and Y axis. And the circularity test gave me a 20% average error. Not very good. So I wouldn't recommend this controller if you plan on playing shooting games, as the analog sticks doesn't have a good precision to them. But if you plan to play platformers or any other regular Switch game, it won't make a difference. If you unplug the cable and connect it through Bluetooth, it will be recognized as a Switch Pro controller. But the analog sticks or the Dpad won't work at all. There is a way to avoid this though. If you connect the controller and open up Steam, Steam will be able to detect and read the controller properly. And it's fully compatible just like a Pro controller. You can even activate motion controls to play your games. Now let's check out the insides with a teardown. As expected, the battery is indeed a 600 mAh battery. The rumble motors are soldered to the board. And the analog sticks are exactly the same as the ones in the Nyxi Joy-Cons. There is a little bit of dust here. This dust is from the cracked painting around the analog sticks. And you gotta be really careful when disassembling this controller. These flat cables here are super fragile. On the other side of the board, you have regular contacts for the buttons and switches for the home, capture, plus and minus buttons. The rubber membranes for the face buttons are exactly like the ones in the Nyxi Joy-Cons. and the ones in the D-pad got me a little bit worried, as they seem very thin. Overall, this controller is screaming to me, "You shouldn't be inside here, go away." In fact, the battery contacts is glued in place. They seriously expect that you're not doing any repairs on this controller. Another weird thing I noted is this reset button in the back here. I tried pressing, but the hole leads to nothing. And when you disassemble it, you'll see that there's nothing there. It should have a button around the screw hole here. Aside from those problems, this controller works well and is very comfortable. They're just like the Nyxi Joy-Cons, which are my main Joy-Cons now. They are much better for games that have a heavier use of the analog sticks, like Smash Brothers. With these Joy-Cons I can play without any worries that the sticks will drift. I've used them so much that the sticks are showing some signs of wear in the base. And the main selling point of the Nyxi Joy-Cons is also present here. The Ice Cracking Pro Controller is selling for $46 at the moment of this video, and the Pro Controller sells for $69 to $70. So you end up saving $22 to $23, and you get a controller that loses some functionalities as the HD Rumble and Amiibo support, but you end up with a controller that is more comfortable, has a turbo function, and RGB lights. In the end, the Nyxi Ice Cracking Pro Controller is not a premium gamepad, but it's definitely a cheaper alternative to the expensive Pro Controller of the Nintendo Switch. If you like this review, leave a comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And if you wanna buy an Ice Cracking Pro Controller for you, check the links in the description. That's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.